You know, it would help if I turned my microphone on. How about that? Gee. All right, let's start again. Take two. Hey everybody, I'm C. Andrew Nelson, founder of Aquatasy. Welcome to another Aquatasy live stream. Happy to have you here. It's hot here in the San Francisco Bay Area. It is blistering hot. I think I have heat stroke. I think that's why I forgot to turn the microphone on. It's about 472 degrees here. It's really, really, really hot. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's hot here. So welcome to everybody. Hello, Water Wizard is here. Punchy is here. 54 Punchy, nice to see you. Shelly's here. And Jerry Cornell, my buddy, how are you? Glad to have you all here. Welcome to the live stream. Last time we did a live stream, we had an AMA, an Ask Me Anything. We're going to have a chance to chat this time around too, so you guys can ask whatever you want, but we're going to actually cover a particular topic this time. A couple weeks back, in the community tab, I put up a poll, and I listed about 5 different things that we could cover as a topic, and the one that you chose was aquarium stocking ideas. So that's what we're going to talk about primarily today, but we're also going to, take whatever questions and chat and just, commune together, have fun. So what else? Whoa, Matthew's here. Oh, good. Matthew made it. Glad to see you, Matthew. Glad to have everybody here. We'll give people a little bit of time to join in and realize that the live stream is going on. Can everybody hear me all right? Waiting for confirmation that everybody can hear me all right. Saki Boy is here. Hi Ace, how are you? Good to see you. How's the audio? Last time we did this, the microphone level was a little low, so I'm trying to bump it up this time, see how we're doing. So, everybody hear me all right? Excellent. Fantastic. Okay. So, like I said, it is blistering hot here. In fact, I brought a towel just in case. I can do my Elvis impression. Thank you very much. It's really, really hot. In fact, I'm sweating right now. I actually just took a shower just a few minutes ago, just because I was sweating all day today. I didn't want to get on camera and sweat, and here I am sweating anyway, because I'm inside in a warm studio. Wow. How smart of me is that? But who else we got here? Vucky ABX. Hello there. Dan Slee is here. Hi, Dan. Nice to see you. Part of Rose's World is here. I don't know which part, though. Which part is here? A lot of nice people in the chat. That's great. I love to see this. So I just got out of the shower a moment ago. And and I had to use my wife's shampoo and conditioner because I didn't have any of my own, and so I had to use my wife's shampoo and conditioner. Now I smell like a fruit salad. What is it they put in shampoo and conditioner nowadays? Why are they including things like carrot oil and blueberries and macadamia nuts? There is more food in my hair now than there is on my dinner plate. Why? Why is that? Floyd is here. Floyd Conrad. Good to see you, Floyd. Nice to see you. Actually, let's just bring up the chat for a moment here so everybody can see everybody. There we are. Look at all these happy peoples. So, like I said, I put up a poll, and you guys voted, and we're going to talk about aquarium stocking ideas today. Not so much like this specific fish with that specific fish, but ideas from an aesthetic standpoint, from the idea of making it visually appealing. So we're going to cover a lot of ground on that, hopefully. And I want you guys to chime in with your suggestions as well. So, but how is everybody? Punchy says, yeah, cooked fruit salad. Yes, I feel like a cooked fruit salad right now. I really do. No, I smell like blueberries and macadamia nuts and everything like that that's in these shampoos. How does that get me clean? How do blueberries get me clean? I don't understand this. But, so what's the weather like where you are? I know it must be blistering hot where Jerry is. Jerry is in the probably the hottest part of California at the moment. Well, maybe not. Death Valley is probably the hottest part of California, but it's really hot here. I mean, it's shoe melting weather in this area. The neighbor's cat, I just saw it burst into flames a moment ago. It's really bad. So, so one of the things I wanted to talk about, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, is to do a video on stocking ideas, because we'll get a new tank, or we'll renovate an old tank, and we'll set it up, and we kind of, the age-old question is, what do I put in my tank? And there's a lot of things. I mean, obviously there are sort of the general things that you can do, but one of the things that happens quite often is that we will go to our local fish store, or we'll go to a pet store, and we'll go and we'll see what kind of fish they have, and go, oh, that one's pretty, I'll get that, or that one's pretty, I'll get that. We put it all into one tank, and it really is kind of a hodgepodge, and it doesn't necessarily become one big cohesive, beautiful image. Because let's face it, aquascaping and fish keeping and everything, it's an art form. It really is. I mean, it's not decoration. I hate the idea that people get fish tanks for decoration purposes. But it's an art form that, and you want it to be aesthetically pleasing. You want it to be pleasing to the eye. We all love to just sit down and chill out in front of our fish tank, right? Well, one of the things that makes it more aesthetically pleasing is how we choose the fish that we're going to put into our tanks, or the invertebrates that we're going to put in there. So that's what I want to talk about. Let me see what's going on in the chat here. Matthew says, what is the smallest tank for a betta? I feel like it's 3 gallons, but I could be wrong. Those 0.5 and 1 gallon tanks are torture to the fish. Amen to that. That is the truth. Honestly, bettas are very resilient fish, but they shouldn't have to be. They get put through so much that they really shouldn't. First of all, bettas they're tropical fish. They're not cold water fish. People put them into a tank with no heater, which is sad. They put them into very small containers, little cups and little bowls and things like that, because in the wild, they come from very shallow waters. And so they don't necessarily need a lot of oxygen in the water, because they're labyrinth fish, so they can grab air from the surface. They can breathe some surface air. And that's what gets them through the drought periods where they originate from. But that doesn't mean that it's ideal. So me personally, I wouldn't consider anything less than a 3 gallon tank. I would go more than that. I would say a 5 gallon tank. My female betta is over here in the 16 gallon tank. Princess Bucket is her name. I didn't name her that. My friend Peter named her that. I didn't ask for that. He made that name stick, Princess Bucket. Anyway, she's over here in this, and she loves that big tank. They like to swim around. They like some room. They like some vegetation. They're inquisitive fish. So when you put a betta into a very small tank, they're going to get bored. They're going to go, they're going to get depressed. It really does happen. And so, yeah, so I wouldn't do anything, smaller than a 3 gallon tank, honestly. 5 gallon, 10 gallon would be great. 20, whatever. But definitely not that small. So Jerry says, it is so hot that my shoes melt when I walk on the sidewalk. I believe it. Where you live, Jerry, I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Matthew says it's only 6 degrees where he is. Isn't that nice for you, Matthew? Lumpy Dog is here. Lumpy Dog says, wow, I can't believe I'm watching the actor that played Yoda in the movie. I did not play Yoda in the movies. Wrong you are. Mistake you have made. Yes. So I want to talk about the types of ways, because there are a lot of things that you can do with a tank. I mean, your imagination is the only limitation when it comes down to stocking a tank. That and obviously water parameters and things like that. You want to make sure that whatever fish you put in a tank are going to be able to go together. So for all the ideas that I'm going to throw out at you, just keep in mind that you also still have to do your research as to what the compatibility is with fish, whether, because you don't want to put aggressive fish with passive fish, and you want to make sure that they have the same requirements as far as the water parameters, the pH, the hardness of the water, the temperature of the water, things like that. And also, to a certain extent, you want to keep in mind their food requirements and whether these fish are going to outcompete each other for food or if they have very different diets. But setting all that aside, assuming that that is a given, I have some ideas for you that we're going to cover and discuss here. Jerry says, are there any fish that actually like the heat? Yes, there are some fish that do like warm water. Discus. A lot of people keep discus in tanks at 83, 84, 85 degrees. So yeah, there are some fish that do like warmer waters. Definitely. Shelley says, how about those clownfish? What gallon would those require? I'm assuming you mean the clownfish, like the saltwater fish. They're actually pretty good in a smaller tank. You could do kind of like a nano reef tank and include some clownfish in those. Maybe 15 gallon, 20 gallon would be good. I mean, that's kind of nano for a reef. I'm not the expert on reef tanks, but you should, yeah, but somewhere around there wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, excuse me while I refresh. I am definitely going to stay hydrated today. It is really, really, really boiling hot. Matthew says, my favorite betta is a white-crowned king betta. They look so spiky. Yeah, they are really cool, really amazing. Ace Vito Video Store says, I'm 15 minutes late to the live stream. Sorry. Okay, fine. We'll start over again. Here we go. Hey everybody, I'm C. Andrew Nelson, founder of Aquatasy. Welcome to another Aquatasy live stream. And then we talked about the heat, and then we talked about bettas and how you shouldn't keep them in anything smaller than a 3-gallon tank. And there, you're all caught up now. Okay? Great. Fantastic. Let's go back to the chat. So, are any of you actually ready to set up a new tank or thinking of redoing a tank and you're looking for actual stocking ideas? Let me know. Tell me that in the chat right now. And by the way, as we're going through the chat, if I miss something, if I miss your question or I miss your comment, please don't get upset. Don't despair. Just type it in again and I will find it, as soon as I can, because I'm going to be talking to you for a bit and then I'm going to be changing things up and showing different screens and that sort of thing. So I don't want you to be upset. Of course, one way to make sure that I actually see, your comment is to use Super Chat. Super Chat is enabled, and a portion of the proceeds from the Super Chat goes to benefit the Starlight Children's Foundation. Okay, a wonderful organization that I've been supporting for many years now. So, and also, if somebody's interested who has some experience in moderating, would like to step up and be a moderator today, let me know. So, Matthew says, I'm thinking of getting either some tetras or sharks. Not together, obviously. I'm assuming you mean freshwater sharks. Are we talking freshwater or are we talking saltwater? I definitely don't want to put them together if you're doing freshwater tetras and saltwater sharks. What type of sharks were you thinking of? So, he says, might be getting and or setting up a new tank. Excellent. Excellent. Yes. Always room for another tank, isn't there? Unless my wife is looking. So I don't want happy wife, happy life, So, yeah, tetras. I love tetras. I've been keeping tetras for almost as long as I've been keeping fish. I love freshwater sharks, or things that get labeled as sharks, like red-tailed sharks and rainbow sharks and bala sharks and all of that. Some of them get big, some of them get a little persnickety, and they get a little, fussy and everything. We have QSA Fall Rising is here. Hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream. Rounded Rob is here. Excellent. He says, hi, just got in doing water changes. I was going to do water changes before I did the live stream, but I was bogged down with some stuff. Floyd says, just got a 120 gallon, looking for ideas. It's going to be planted for sure. Excellent. Ooh, 125. Ah, yes, the possibilities. I have never owned anything larger than a 20-gallon tank. Can you believe that? I've been in this hobby since Methuselah was a child, and I have never owned anything larger than a 20-gallon tank. My son, he's got the 36-gallon Bowfront. That's his tank, though. Technically, it's not my tank. So I've only ever had 20 gallons or smaller. But I've had a lot of them. A lot of them. So, Round and Rob says, new to your channel. Thanks for having me. You are welcome. Everybody's welcome. Thank you for being here, Rob. So, all right, let's start talking a little bit about different types of stocking ideas. So, basically, when you're putting together an aquarium, all sort of stocking plans fall under one of three different categories. So, actually, before I do that, let's see if we can designate. Anybody want to be a moderator for today? Don't all answer at once. Because I will choose one of you without your consent if you don't. Brian P is here. Hello, Brian. Matthew says, I might have to go. I'll try to be back. Okay, Matthew, that's fine. I understand. All right, well, I'll tell you what. We'll go ahead and we'll start in with this. Since nobody is stepping up the plate here to be a moderator. Fine. Fine, be that way. Lumpy Dog says, not me. That sounds like a volunteer. When I was on the board of directors of the Visual Effects Society, we had one guy, well, nobody wanted to be the treasurer. Nobody wanted to be the treasurer. Nobody wanted to keep the checkbook and write out all the checks for everything like that. And there was a situation where we had to elect new officials. We had to elect a president and vice president, or chair and vice chair, and secretary and treasurer. Nobody wanted to be treasurer. So we took the one person who didn't show up to the meeting, and we made them the treasurer. So it became a running gag that you have to show up for that one meeting where we select the new officials. Otherwise, you're going to end up being the treasurer. I won't make you a moderator, Lumpy. I'm sorry. I won't do that. So anyway, Aaron's Aquarium's here. Aaron, speaking, I was just about to mention you. Somebody asked about clownfish. Somebody asked about reefs, and what was the smallest size tank that you could keep a clownfish in. And I was just going to say, Michael Aarons would know the answer to that. So I'm glad you're here, buddy. If you've not seen his channel, you got to check out his channel. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic channel. So we'll give everybody just a moment here. Like I said, one last chance here. Anybody want to be a moderator? 10 gallons. Michael says 10 gallons for the clownfish. That's great. That's actually smaller than I thought. I was thinking like 15. So, but then again, I'm the freshwater guy. So what do I know? Vucky says he never had a plus 20 gallon tank or bettas. That's true. Never had anything larger than that. I have had bettas. I've kept a lot of different types of fish. All right, Lumpy Dog is bowing to the pressure here. He says, wrench me. All right. I am wrenching you. You are now a moderator. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, okay. So, you're looking for stocking ideas for a new aquarium, or you're redoing a tank, and you want to know, what kind of fish do I put in this tank? Well, like I said, obviously we want to keep in mind, water parameters, make sure that that's okay for whatever fish you're putting together, and you want to make sure that they're going to be all right together as far as their temperament and their personality, so they're not beating up on each other and eating each other. But setting all that aside, that you've done your research for that, I want to give you a couple of ideas that we have in here. So basically, when you're putting together a stocking plan, the traditional thing is everything falls under one of three categories. You have either the general community aquarium, you have the single species tank, or you have a biotope. General community is exactly what you think it is. It's a whole bunch of fish that come from wherever in the world, and you put them all together into one tank and let them become a community. And sometimes that works, and that's great, and that's something that we all know. It's pretty much the standard. It's the vanilla of aquarium stocking plans. Another idea is to do a single species tank. So let's say you want to just focus on one particular type of fish. So that's what you do. You take a tank and you just put one fish in there, one fish species, and you focus on that. Or the other category that it comes down to a lot of times is a biotope. And with a biotope, what you're trying to do is you're trying to recreate a very specific region somewhere in the world. So you're trying to recreate the conditions there. So you want to get the hardscape to look like that region. You want to put whatever plants or vegetation in there to resemble that region. And whatever fish that you put in there, or invertebrates, are fish that actually come from that area, from that region, that are native to that area. So those are basically the three categories that every kind of stocking plan falls under. But from there, you can put together all kinds of variations. Like you can do what I do, which is something I'd love to do, which is kind of a variation on the biotope, which is pick a country. So what I do is I will pick I gotta get on camera here. I'm scooting over the side here. So what I do when I do a pick a country is I will literally pick a country. Like I'll say, like Thailand over here, the Thailand project that's behind me. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to put together fish and plants and invertebrates that come from that specific country. So it's not a strict biotope, because the hardscape might not represent that particular country or a very specific region. It might be the hardscape is inspired by something else. When I was putting together the Thailand project over here behind me, I based the hardscape on the rock formations that I saw in the mountain streams in Montana, way up in the mountains. And that and also some of the rock formations that I found around Lake Tahoe in Nevada and California, right on the border there. So that was one thing, but I decided, just as a challenge to myself, that I was going to take and put the tank and stock the tank with just fish and plants and invertebrates that come from the country of Thailand. So they may come from different areas of Thailand, but they all come from that country. And the nice thing about that is it challenges you to make sure that you're putting together fish that are obviously compatible, but you're putting together fish that are all from that particular country. Because a lot of times we think something's from a particular country, and maybe it's not. So that's it gives you a chance to do some research and to play and have fun. So I've had a blast doing that with the Thailand project, and I'm doing that now with all my tanks. So the 20-gallon tank that normally has my sassy back-talking fish, which are down here in the holding tank, and they're not speaking to me today because they're really ticked off that I still haven't finished their rescape. But as I rescape their tank, it's going to be a Brazil-only tank, because all those fish, with the exception of my clown pleco, are from the country of Brazil. And all the plants are now going to be from Brazil because of what I've been doing in there. I've had I've just had like Anubias and things like that that don't come from Brazil. So when I renovate that, that's what I'm going to do. So, oh, Vucky asks, does Australia have anything besides rainbow fish? Actually, yes, they do. One of the things that I've been doing, I'll sit down and I'll sort of kind of figure out, because I will, hopefully, at one point, set up some other tanks. So I have other countries that I want to do. Australia is actually one of them, and so I've been researching it. There are other things besides rainbow fish. There are some different gobies. There are lots of other different types of fish that you can find there. One really great resource if you want to do the pick a country type thing is if you go to Fishbase, which I believe is fishbase.org, might be fishbase.de, but if you go to Fishbase, you can search by country. You can search by freshwater, saltwater, whatever you want. You can search by country and it'll list for you all the fish that are native to that country. And those that are endemic to it and all that. It'll also tell you the ones that have been introduced to that country, and it is a great resource. So you can go in and you can put in Australia and you can search and you can see, or you can put in the name of a particular fish, whether it be the common name or the Latin name, and then search from there, and the map will come up. You can do countries, and a map will come up and it'll show you the various countries that that particular fish species comes from. So it's been a really, really good resource for me that I've been using, and I'm really thankful for that. Michael Aaron says, I'd love to do a saltwater biotope, but with the current bans and things in place, it's very difficult, or it will be a boring looking system. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the thing too. Depending on what country you're in, you know, some of the fish that you want, or even just what part of what country you're in, if you want to do a biotope and you want to get stuff from a particular region or a particular country, sometimes they're not available in the country that you're in. I know here in the United States, people in Hawaii, they can't always get the stuff that they want, especially when it comes to saltwater fish, because they're not allowed to import stuff. Because they're afraid that it's going to get released out there and that the waters, they're being so wonderful that some invasive species is going to take hold. So that's an issue sometimes. So yeah. Fish Tropic's here. Hello, Fish Tropic. How are you? So yeah, so you have the idea of pick a country. That's one of the ideas for stocking a tank. It's a lot of fun, so give it a try. Another thing you can try is you can try stocking based on the water column. So keep in mind that when you have a tank, there is what we call the water column, which is the different sections of the tank. So the water column is basically broken up to, you have the top level, you've got the mid level, and you've got the bottom level of there. So you can actually stock a tank based on that. So you could have, if you want to have something balanced, like I said earlier, when we go to a fish store, or we go to a pet store and we want to we buy fish, a lot of us, when we're putting together a community aquarium, we just kind of go through and go, oh, that's a pretty fish, I'll get that. Oh, that's a nice fish, I'll get that. And we put it all into a tank and we don't think about how they're going to look together. And sometimes it just becomes like a Jackson Pollock painting. It just looks like a whole bunch of stuff just sort of all over the place with lots of various colors, and it doesn't necessarily all go together. Well, by paying attention to the water column, we can separate the fish. So you can get fish that are surface dwellers. So maybe you get some hatchet fish that stay up to the top. They're surface feeders. So they're up there and they're going to stay up near the top all the time. You can get some mid-level swimmers, like, tetras and danios and rasboras that'll stay right around in the middle of the tank. And you can get fish that are the bottom dwellers. You can get, catfish, corridoras, plecos, loaches, things like that. A lot of apistos will kind of hang down near the bottom of the tank. So you do that, and then it's not just a big traffic jam in the middle. So that's one way of stocking a tank, so keep that in mind there. Kane Landis has joined us here. Hello, Kane. How are you? So, let me get caught up here. Ruben's here. Hi, Ruben. How you doing? He says, love the talking fish. They should do a live-only stream of all your talking fish. Oh, my gosh. Do you really want them to talk for like an hour or two? Good gosh, I can't. I'm just happy they're not talking to me now. They're upset with me. You don't have to live with them, Ruben. I do. All right? All right. So, setting it up with the water column in mind is a nice way to keep the traffic flowing so that you don't have all the fish just kind of swimming. And then you can also put fish in there that will go up and down throughout the tank as sort of a little bit of a variety as well. Another thing that you can do is you can stock based on the same setting. So a little bit different than a biotope, because a biotope, you're recreating a specific region somewhere in the world, and you're getting fish that would be found together in the wild in that region. What I'm talking about here is you're setting up like a setting, and then you're finding fish from wherever, all over the world, that can go together in that type of setting because they come from that type of setting from wherever they are somewhere on the planet. So one of the things you can do is you can do a hill stream community. That would be great. So you get fish that come from like a fast-moving hill stream, some like obviously hill stream loaches and things like that are used to a very strong current. Put those together, whether or not they actually come from the same, it doesn't mean that they all come from the same country, but you can put them together in one tank. And that makes for a really interesting community. So you can set up the conditions for a hill stream and then do your research on what type of fish come from a hill stream. Another thing that you can do, another setting, you can do a cold water community. A lot of times we think about cold water and we think goldfish. That's the first thing we think of. There's a lot more fish than cold fish that do well in a cold water or a cool water tank. And you can put together a community on that. I did a whole video on, it was one of the Aquatasy countdown videos. It was 9 fish species mistakenly sold as tropical. And there's a lot, that's a great starting point there. You can go and you can look at that video and see what type of fish are actually cool water fish. So things like rosy barbs actually do much better in temperatures lower than, say, 74 degrees or so. White cloud mountain minnows, dojo loaches, things like that. It doesn't have to be just goldfish. So it's a great thing that you can do. Put together a cold water community. Actually, the nice thing about a cold water community tank is it costs less to run because you don't have to heat the tank. So that's a little bit less extra electricity that you're not burning. So another thing you can do is you can do a blackwater community. A lot of people like doing the blackwater tanks. So this is a tank that is got a lot of tannins in it, and it makes for a nice, interesting, sort of amber, tea-colored, murky water. Some people like this. I've never done one because I'm just kind of all about clarity, but it is very moody. It sets a nice, interesting mood. And again, it doesn't have to be all fish from like the same tributary in the Amazon. It can be fish from all over the world because there are streams all over the place that have tannins in them and have that kind of coloration to it. And a lot of fish look really good in a tannin-stained tank. And how do you get tannins? I mean, there are a lot of different leaves that you can put in a tank that will leach into the water and give you the tannins. A lot of different types of driftwood. Mopani wood is really good for that. Mopani wood, you put that in a tank and that'll just leach tannins for a long time. You can even add, there's tannins in a bottle you can use as well too. And for some fish, it's very beneficial as well. Tannin tanks or blackwater tanks, you have to be careful about what kind of plants you put in there because the tannins are going to cut down on the amount of light that penetrates all the way through to the bottom of the tank. So you want to make sure that you've got plants that can handle less light in there. But one species of fish that I think works great in a blackwater tank are lemon tetras. Lemon tetras just pop in a tank that's, you know, blackwater stained by tannins, especially their little red eyes will do that are really, really cool. So that's one thing that you can do. So let me check the chat here again. Lumpy Dog says mountain minnows for the win. Yes, I love white cloud mountain minnows. They're just wonderful. Kane Landa says, is anyone actually excited for the new Star Wars? And Super Ghost UK says, I am. Palpatine returns. So, yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see. I did not care for The Last Jedi. I really didn't care for The Last Jedi. Didn't like it much at all. To the point where I almost wish I hadn't seen it. But so it's going to be interesting to see how they pull this out of the flames there to what J.J. Abrams does with this. There's some interesting rumors going about. I don't have any actual insight right now, although I have a lot of friends that are actually working on Rise of Skywalker at this moment. But I'm staying blissfully ignorant. I just didn't want to ask what's going on, and but it'll be interesting to see. I'm probably not going to rush out to see it, but if I get a free screening through the Visual Effects Society, I'll probably go. So anyway, back to the suggestions here. So another thing that you can do is you can stock your tank based on color palette. Color is a very powerful thing. And that's why I was talking about one reason why we don't just want to go to the store and just buy whatever darn fish we want and throw it into a tank and expect it to be a beautiful masterpiece, because not all these colors are going to go together. It's going to look like a big woven mess. Excuse me. It's still really hot in here. I would have a fan on, but I didn't want the noise to come through on the microphone. But you can stock based on color, and there's a lot of ways of doing that. One thing you can do is you can get fish that are all the same color. So stock a tank. This is a kind of a fun thing to do. Stock a tank where you've got all the fish. Let's say, pick a color, and pick, like, say, red or green or purple or something like that, and find as many different types of fish that you can that are that color and that are compatible with each other, and put them in the tank and see how it looks. I think that's a kind of a cool thing to do. Another thing you can do is you can do primary colors. So you get fish that are either, one of the three primary colors. Now, what are the primary colors? Well, that's an interesting question, actually, because, when I was in school as a kid, the primary colors were red, yellow, and blue. Those are the colors for pigmentation. So when the teachers in grade school and kindergarten are showing you how to paint, and you got your your little finger paints and you got your crayons, your primary colors are the red and the yellow and the blue. So you could stock a tank based on that. So you get fish that fall into one of those categories or have a combination of those colors on it. Now, of course, in our digital age and working with computers and video and things like that, primary colors that we're probably more familiar with now today, and that certainly young people are familiar with today, are the RGB colors. These are the colors of the light spectrum instead. So whereas when you go back, and let me go back here to this one, and when you combine these colors from the pigmentation, obviously red and blue make purple, yellow and red make orange, and blue and yellow make green, and the combination of all three of them make black. When it comes to lighting, it's different. So you've got red and blue still make purple, but now green and red make yellow. And when you combine blue and green, you get cyan. And when you combine them all together, as we know when we get our LED strips and everything like that with all the different colors, it all combines to be white light. So, but it's a way of, it's just another idea that you can do, that you can throw out there and just see, all right, well, maybe I'll fill the tank with fish that are all RGB. So they're either red, they're green, they're blue, or a combination of all of those. So all this making sense? Am I a crazy man? I mean, the idea is just to think outside the glass box. Think outside and just come up with something interesting and different for you. So Lumpy Dog says, healthy rosy red minnows make nice pets. Yeah, rosy red minnows, that's another great one for a cold water tank. I don't think rosy red minnows get enough love. They're really nice fish. They're hardy, they're active, they're interesting, and when they're well kept, they're really nice looking fish. But most of the time we see them sold as feeders, or see them sold as pond fish for like mosquito control. But they make a great fish for a cold water community. That would be a great suggestion there. Susan Stewart is here. Hello, Susan. How are you? Nice to see you. Nicolene is here. Hi from South Africa. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Fantastic. What's the weather like in South Africa? I am here in the San Francisco Bay Area in California in the United States, and I am burning up. It is really hot today. So, Superghost UK says, how about mixing fish with amphibians and reptiles? What would be a good mix? That is actually a really good point. You can do that. You can mix fish with certain amphibians. The first one that comes to mind, of course, would be African dwarf frogs. African dwarf frogs are a great companion to... the great thing about the African dwarf frogs, the ADFs, is they don't really pose much of a threat to most fish, even small fish, mainly because they don't have very good eyesight, and they find their food by the sense of smell. So they're not really sniffing out fish. I mean, if a fish comes really close, right up in front of their face, they might. But my daughter had ADFs in her 20-gallon tank, along with Endler's live bearers, and I don't think I ever saw one of the frogs go after the live bearers, ever. But they make a great thing. There are certain freshwater newts that you can do. If you want to get fish of a larger size, there are larger amphibians that you can use. And the same thing goes for reptiles. Turtles, of course, is the big reptile for aquariums. And if you put turtles in with fish that are large enough that they're not going to be swallowed, then they can be compatible as well. Just so long as you make sure that the water parameters as far as the temperature and everything like that are okay for each of them. But they make great. Day 5 Aquatics is a channel here on YouTube, and Aaron Caleb's who keeps that channel. He's had his turtles in with native fish, native to North America, and it works out fantastic. So that's one way to go there. So, Lucas Studio says, I just arrived about 20 minutes late. Okay, time to start over. No, I won't do that again. So, nice to see you, Lucas Studios. So, are we liking these stocking ideas? And again, get ready. I want you to throw in some ideas here too. But let me move on. One other thing you can do as far as color is you can do going formal, as I call it. Or, a formal affair, black and white. Stock a tank with black and white fish. This is one that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. So you stock the tank with compatible fish that are either black or white, or a combination of black and white, or gray or silver, something in that color range. So you could put together some albino cories. You could put together with that some black mollies, or a nice striped angelfish, or a panda agara would be a good one too. But fish that are black or white, or a combination of the two, I think that would be a great thing, sort of a monochromatic tank. So the nice thing about that is you have the interesting contrast. You've got the markings on them that make them interesting and they stand out. And sometimes we want fish to stand out because of their color, or sometimes the lack of color, because that way you can put a nice lush plant life behind them, and that makes the fish pop even more. And also it adds contrast to what the background is. So that's an interesting way to go. Another thing that you can do when you're stocking tanks is you can stock them based on body type. So body, type, body shape. Not every fish has the exact same body type, just like not all people do. So you could keep that in mind and use that as a stocking idea. So you could do things like you could stock your tank with fish that are all the same shape. So some fish are like, long and narrow. Some are sort of tall and rounded. Put all the fish in there that are all the same type of shape and see how that looks. And one thing that you can do, you don't have to go buy these fish, put them all together and go, oh my gosh, I don't think I like that. you can actually just get a bunch of photos of these fish and kind of lay them next to each other and try it out, or you can put it in Photoshop or some other little imaging tool and just kind of test it out. Just kind of do a mock-up of it first to see how you like it and see how they work together. Another thing you can do contrasting shapes. Contrasting shapes is a really important thing too. You can put fish together. One thing that I like to do, one thing that I did with my snotty talking fish over here, who are refusing to talk to me today, is there's a contrast between the tetras. I've got rummy-nosed tetras and I've got callistus tetras, or sometimes known as serpatetras there. And the nice thing about that is that they are a contrasting body type. The rummy-nosed tetras are long torpedo-shaped fish, and the callistus tetras are more of a rounder, fuller body. They're more elongated this way rather than this way. And it provides a nice contrast. Contrast is actually pretty important, I think, when you're putting together a group of fish. So that's one way to go as well. So, what do you think of this so far? How am I doing here? We'll go back to the chat. Let me get caught up in the chat here. Super Ghost asked Lumpy Dog, stupid question. No, there are no stupid questions. But are goldfish cannibals? I had a bunch when I was little, and one of them ate the other. It can happen. I think it can happen with just about any kind of fish, especially if one will fit into the mouth of the other. But if one dies or is dying, sometimes the other fish will be opportunistic and will feed off of it. So it can happen. Doesn't usually happen, but it can. Somebody says striped angelfish is what I really want in my new 29-gallon and still needs to be get set up. Yeah, I love striped angelfish. You know, I think they're beautiful. They're gorgeous. And again, I thought that would be a perfect one for like the Getting Formal, the black and white tank there. Select Pet says, I messed up once putting all black fish with black background and black substrate. You know, that would probably be really cool for like 10 minutes or so, and then you realize, I can't see a darn thing in here. Well, you know what you need to do then on a tank like that? You need to put a black light on it. So, let's see, what else here? All right, Round and Rob is on break from the water changes. Good, good, good. QSA Fall Rising says, I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, if you've got stocking ideas that you want to, I mean, I've got more. I'm just taking a little break here. If you've got stocking ideas that come to mind, please throw them there into the chat. And again, if I miss something in the chat here, don't be upset. I mean, I'm trying to catch everything. If you want to definitely catch my attention, you know, you can always super chat it. And again, the proceeds help to support the Starlight Children's Foundation. So I hope it's not this hot on the weekend. I really do, because I've got a convention appearance to go to, and I don't like sweating when I'm trying to, you know, meet people and sign things and stuff like that. Hopefully there'll be air conditioning where I'm at. I will be at the San Mateo County Fairgrounds on Sunday at the South City Comic-Con. You can check it out at southcitycomiccon.com, or if you want to find out where I'm going to be anytime that you want, you can go to my official website, candrewnelson.com, and go to the events page, and you can find a list of all the conventions that I make appearances at, or all the lectures that I'm going to be at, and things like that. So, you know, you can go there and check that out. But yeah, so I've got a convention appearance to do this weekend, and hopefully I am not going to sweat like a pig when I do that. So, what else we got going in the chat here? Lumpy Dog says, I've got a 90-gallon with a bunch of guppies keeping it cycled. Still not sure what I want to do with it. Driving me crazy. Well, hopefully we can give you some inspiration today on that. 90 gallons. That's a nice sized tank. There's a lot of ways you could go with that. You could do, you know, you could just, you know, aquascape the heck out of it and put a lot of interesting fish in there, or you could, you know, do a minimalist thing and have some really big fish. So lots of things you could do with that. Ronda Rob says, so this is the first time I've been to your chat, and actually I'm a new subscriber. I thank you for that. I really do. This is the amazing thing. We are very dangerously close to 10,000 subscribers here on the Aquatasy channel. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh, we're at somewhere around 9,700 and something, and I'm blown away by that. Because I looked back, and it was back in February that we were at like 3,500, and now we're just less than 300 subscribers away from 10,000. How is that possible? And it's possible because of you. This is your channel. I'm not Aquatasy. You're Aquatasy. I'm just the big goofy guy that makes videos. So that's, thank you. Thank you for that. Lucas Studio says, I can relate with the extreme heat. I also live in California. So I hope you're not somewhere where it's hotter than me. I know Jerry is. What's the temperature where you are, Jerry, right now? Jerry's my good buddy, Jerry Cornell. Jerry Cornell from Theme Parkology. So makes these wonderful videos, these documentaries. You can go to themeparkology.com, giving you a free plug there, Jerry. Themeparkology.com. He makes these documentaries on theme parks, theme park attractions there. Some of which that I've actually worked on, like this one here for Pirates of the Caribbean. I was the editor for this. And they're fantastic documentaries, interviews with people that help make these attractions at theme parks, mostly Disney theme parks and things like that. And he and I and another good friend of ours, Joshua Schaefer, who is the expert on Disney trivia, we are all going to be at MouseCon coming up in November. I believe it's November 3rd in Concord, California. We'll be doing a panel together. MouseCon is about all things Disney. And it's going to be a lot of fun. But so what's the weather like where you are, Jerry, today? So what do we have here? Rounded Rob says, I noticed the Fender T-shirt you're wearing. So you jam then? No, I don't jam. I don't jelly. I don't even. Well, I peanut butter. That's about. I am not a musician. I love music. I love guitars. I actually love Fender guitars, but I am not a musician. I actually got this. My daughter's boyfriend gave this to me as a gift. I love it. I actually even love the logo for Fender. There's just something about it. I love guitars just as an art form. If I could, I'd have guitars hanging on the wall. I think they're really cool. I'm not a musician. I used to be in a band. I think I mentioned this in the previous live stream. When I was in high school, I was in a band because I was, a male growing up in the 70s in California, and it was mandatory. You had to be in a band when you were in high school. It was the law. So there were three of us in a band. We were called the Hamsters. Yeah, I know, the Hamsters. Pretty sad. We were three guys who did not know how to play guitar. And there was one guy who did not know how to play guitar a little bit better than the other two. I was not that guy. I was the worst of us. I've never really learned how to play guitar, but I appreciate them, so I'm wearing the Fender t-shirt. So sorry about that. My wife's a musician. My parents are both musicians. My mom plays piano and ukulele. My dad, until his arthritis got bad, he played clarinet and saxophone and drums, and I play CDs and MP3s. So that's that. Superghost says, I once went snorkeling in Sardinia. The fish there were insanely gorgeous. Right before I got stung by a jellyfish. Ouch. Aye. That's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. I've seen the people on Survivor who end up getting stung by jellyfish and what they have to go through to not feel the pain. And I'm not going to mention it because this is a family show. So, let's see. What do we have? Oh, thank you for telling me that I'm entertaining. Thank you, Bucky. I believe you're talking about me. I hope so. QSA says, I'm a new subscriber. I'm new to the channel. Well, thank you. I'd be curious to know how you found out about the channel. So, Superghost says, I live in merry old London. We've had our 20 minutes of summer already. That's right, already. Yes, I've got friends out that way. Of course, Psychedelic Babe. Everybody who she's in Liverpool, I believe. But Psychedelic Babe, if you watch her channel, yeah, she was talking about how the The summer came and went already. So 95 degrees where Jerry's at. Ay, yow. Yeah, that's an ouch. Yeah, it's not quite that hot here, Jerry, but I feel for you, my friend. So you're in London. I would love to really visit London, to truly visit London, because all I've seen of London is Heathrow Airport. That was basically it. That's all I've seen was Heathrow Airport. I was stuck at Heathrow Airport one time. I had been sent to, I was doing a gig for Lucasfilm. A lot of you may or may not know. Those of you who don't know, since you're new to the channel, I'm not just a fish guy. That's my hobby that keeps me sane. My day job is I'm an actor, visual effects artist, an animator, and motion graphics artist, editor, stand-up comedian, etc., etc. And I used to work for George Lucas. Spent 12 years working for Lucasfilm and the Lucas companies. And at one point, they sent me to Spain, to Barcelona. And on my way back, I missed my connecting flight, and I got stuck and had to spend the night at the Comfort Inn. Actually, it was more like the Discomfort Inn at Heathrow Airport. So that's pretty much all I've seen of London. Sad really. Lucas Studio says that they're feeding their dwarf gourami and Danios in their 10-gallon tank. How interesting. I actually have a little tank back here. It's evaporated quite a bit. I've got to put some water in there. It's hot. It's hot here. I've got a little 5.5-gallon tank that's got zebra Danios in there, and a not a dwarf gourami, but I've got, because the tank's too small, but I've got a little dwarf honey gourami in there, a little sunset honey gourami, and he's pretty cool. There. So yeah. By the way, yeah, Jerry mentioned since I gave the plug to his website there, Theme Parkology. You can go there. He's got a 15% off going on right now. So check that out. And lots of cool projects that are coming up that I'm fortunate enough to be able to work on with him. So Super Ghost says, I was fortunate that jellyfish was tiny, felt like a bee sting. Yeah, even so, I've been stung by a bee. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant at all. 56 minutes in, and Aquatasy is still kicking the booty. All right, yes I am, and I've got more. I've got more stocking ideas. We're going to go back to that in just a moment here. Super Ghost says, London is considered the capital of the world. Whatever you want, you can find there. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Lucas Studio says, what Star Wars films did you work on? I worked on the special edition of the original trilogy of Star Wars films. So when George added additional scenes to the films, I worked on that. But I also worked on the prequels. I worked on Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Poster for it right up there. Can't see it because it's... But all those signatures, those are my co-workers from Industrial... I worked at Industrial Light and Magic, working on the effects for the Star Wars prequels. I also worked on Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And then after I finished up on Attack of the Clones, doing effects for that, I left Industrial Light and Magic, was offered a full-time faculty position at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and I ran the visual effects department for about 2.5 years. My students actually ended up working on Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. So the, as Darth Vader might say, the circle is now complete. So, yes. J-Flesh Tanks is here. Good to see you, buddy. Nice to see you. He says, good to see you live. One of the only channels to this day that keeps me entertained. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. And I know you've been subscribed to my channel, and I've been subscribed to your channel for like years now. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. Susan Stewart says, we're watching you from my Roku. Ha! How about that? How about that? Okay. People found me from KG Tropicals. All right, fantastic. Nice, thank you. All right. All right, so let's go back to some of the stocking ideas here. So, because we do have more stocking ideas for you for how to set up your tank. So you say for anybody who's just joining us, we've been talking about ways to stock your tank, what kind of fish to put in there. Not necessarily I'm going to tell you put this species with that species, but just ideas from a visual standpoint. You know, the tagline for this channel is a fresh look at the hobby of fish keeping from a humorous and cinematic perspective. So with my background in the entertainment industry that I'm very fortunate and very blessed to have, I kind of look at things from a cinematic perspective. So I look at fish tanks as pretty much like show. So I want to give that idea of sort of the of aquascaping and fish keeping as art. So kind of keep that sort of visual appeal there. So let's get back to our categories here. So one thing that you can do also is you can stock your fish in your tank based on the kind of fish that they are. So things that I mean by that is you could do it like a live bearer community. So you're stocking it based on the type of fish. So all the fish in there are live bearers. So you could put, guppies and mollies and platies or swordtails in there together and have a live bearer community. Now, one of the things you do have to look out for with that is that some live bearers will crossbreed different species. If you put guppies and Endler's live bearers together, they may cross, and sometimes that works and sometimes that's not a good thing. Especially if you've got female Endler's live bearers that ended up mating with the larger guppies. Sometimes the strain of the larger fry is too much for them, and it's painful for them. But you can do it the other way around, where you've got female guppies and male Endler's live bearers, and that will sometimes work out. But if you don't want that kind of crossbreeding, then you want to put live bearers together that are enough different that they would go together. Same thing with like platies and swordtails. They will crossbreed. So unless that's what you're going for, maybe you don't want to combine them in the same community. But a live bearer community can actually work out pretty well. It can be kind of cool. You could also do just bottom dwellers. That would be a fun one to do. So you just put fish together that are in the lower part of the water column. The great thing about that, especially if you've got like a shallow tank, let's say you got like a 20-gallon long, or I've seen people who do like really wide and long tanks that are only about this tall, and that's great. So it's a really shallow tank, and you could do all bottom dwellers in there. So you could put in Corydoras catfish, you can put plecos, you can put loaches, you can put things like that that just they're going to hug the bottom down there. That would be a really cool tank to do. You can also do like all of one type of thing. You could do all Tetra tank. You could do an all Barbs tank. You could do an all Danios tank. You could do an all Rasboras tank. Pick a fish type and do a tank that's all just that. And then within that, you can choose fish that have an interesting combination of looks. So like I was talking about with my tetras, I've got the rummy nose tetras and I've got the Callistus tetras that, although they're both tetras, they're very different. So they're very different in appearance, in coloration, and in body shape. They're also different in behavior. So you've got the rummy nose tetras, which are nice schooling fish, and you've got the Callistus tetras, which are much more of a shoaling species. So they kind of mill about. And that provides an interesting visual appeal to it. So you can take a particular type of fish. You can do all rainbow fish, different types of rainbow fish. Whatever you can come up with. You can do all striped fish. How cool would that be? So you could do some pencil fish. You could do zebra danios. You could do, we mentioned earlier the striped angelfish. You could put all those in a tank together and do all stripes. And of course, conversely, if you're going to do stripes, you could do spots. You could get spotted fish. You get spotted plecos. You could do upside down catfish that have kind of spots on them. Find some fish that have spots. Some fish may not do too well in a community tank with spots, like jewel cichlids. They're not necessarily a good community tank fish, but there are lots of fish that have a spotted look to them. Try that. That's one way of going. You can also do all solids. So earlier we talked about how you could do fish that are based on, do all the fish that are all one color. You can do all fish, all the fish in your tank are red. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're all a solid red. But there are fish that are a solid color. So you can get barbs that are a solid color. You can get platies that are a solid color. Things like that, and put those together. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same color. It could just be fish that are a solid, and try that. Again, it's just trying to change it up. Just trying to, I get these ideas as I'm going to sleep at night. I lay my head down on the pillow, and I'm one of these guys, and Jerry will tell you this too, that I can't switch off the ideas when I go to bed at night. I just have to get really, really, really sleepy. It's hard. I get ideas for all kinds of things, story ideas, and ideas for videos for you guys, and book ideas, and things like that. Constantly, I'm just constantly being barraged. My brain, the muse just won't leave me alone. And even when I'm laying my head down on the pillow, and I can be dead tired sometimes, ideas come to me. And some of these things that I'm telling you right now came to me that way. You can do an oddballs tank. I love this idea, where you just get some kind of quirky looking fish that, if they're compatible, put them together. Sort of the odd things, like the African butterfly fish is an odd looking fish. You can put that together with, like, maybe the upside down catfish. You can do that get some weird, strange looking fish. Some people do oddballs, and this is kind of an interesting way of doing it too, is that there are people that will stock their tank with fish that are kind of misfits, because maybe they've got a slightly bent tail, or they've got a fin that's got a piece missing from it, or missing a fin, or they've got an eyeball that's missing. And they put those all together in one tank. And it's a wonderful way, because a lot of times when you go to these stores and you see them, you know that nobody else is going to buy these fish, but you're giving them a home. And you're putting them together and you're giving them a good life. Whereas maybe they wouldn't get that otherwise. So that's kind of a cool thing to do. Or you can do a so ugly they're beautiful tank. I love this idea too. There are some fish, like I love plecos. I really do. They're not pretty fish. They're really not pretty fish, but they're beautiful. They're gorgeous. They're kind of weird, ugly looking fish, but they are so ugly they're beautiful. There are a lot of fish that, not just bottom dwellers, that fall into this category. Strange looking fish that you could put together and try that out. So, has anybody ever done this? Have you done the so ugly they're beautiful things? Oh, Lovely Dog brought up something, because Vucky was asking, wouldn't the live bearer community overstock themselves in a few months? That's a really good question. Lovely Dog chimed in and he said, yes and no. Most live bearers will stop reproducing and or eat fry when conditions get too crowded. And they will get very crowded, though. Yes, that's true. That is absolutely true. At a certain point, you will get to where they will get a little cannibalistic, and they will start eating their own fry. Which is why you kind of want to, if possible, get some of that fry out of there, or get some of the adults out of there. Here's something else that you could do too. And actually, I'll bring it up. I'll wait for a moment, because remind me of this, because it's coming up with one of the other stocking ideas that I was going to mention here. I like what Lumpy Dog calls this, instead of an oddball tank. He's calling it an orphan tank. Great idea there. He says, I used to keep an orphan tank. I would buy up any small schooling fish that was alone in a pet store. Yes, that's a great idea. That's a fantastic idea. What he's talking about is, sometimes you'll go to a store and you'll see, like, they've maybe got 1 or 2 neon tetra or something like that, and you buy them up because they're going to be there by themselves with a whole bunch of other fish. They're going to be scared. They're going to be lonesome. And if you've got some at home, put that together. Or sometimes you put together, just if you put fish that are similar but are sort of orphans, because there was only 1 or 2 left in a tank together, if they're similar enough, they will kind of school together. I had that happen with some rummy-nosed tetras, some bloodfin tetras, and other fish that were of a similar size and shape, and I had maybe 1 or 2 of each, and they became one school, which was kind of cool. There. Dr. Ted is here. Hey, Dr. Ted, nice to see you. And Superghost says, I agree. As ugly as the blobfish is, it's kind of adorable. Yes, I agree. Oh, Rhonda Rob says a tank full of tank bosses. That's true too. You could put together a predator tank that's nothing but predators or just aggressive fish, and it can work. It can actually work as a community. When you have like one tank boss or two tank bosses in a community tank, that doesn't work out so well. But you put a whole tank full of them together, and they kind of keep each other in check, because nobody wants to be the one that starts the fight. So. Rob says, I took 6 fish that used to all be tank bosses and put them all together. No more aggression. Yes, it absolutely works. It absolutely works. It's called balance, and it works there. Matthew says, my favorite fish is the gulper eel. It's actually a fish, not an eel. They are very cool. I would love to try to keep one of those for that. There's so many fish I would love to keep, So few tanks, so little time. I forgot the golden rule. You're supposed to inhale air and swallow liquids. Wrong direction. Okay. Nicolene says, I'm overstocked. Loads of guppies, have platies and neons in my tank. Wanted to know, is tubing okay for guppies? See loads of videos of people doing it. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by tubing on there, so but if somebody else does in the comments, please jump in there and let her know. All right, going back to the stocking ideas here. You can also try, this is just a crazy off-the-wall thing, is try an alphabetical stocking. So stock your tank with fish that their names all begin with the same letter of the alphabet. They all begin with the letter A, or they all begin with the letter F or Q or whatever. And you could base it off of their common name, or you can base it off their Latin name. Or you could do groups of fish, schools of fish that are sequential in the alphabet. You could do, a group of A fish, a group of B fish, a group of C fish, and so on. See, it's the heat, it's the madness. It's having me come up with these goofy ideas here. But it's a challenge. The idea is to have fun with this. If you don't know what to do, I'm just trying to get these conversation starters and these ideas going for you. You could also do what's called the giant nano tank, and I'm borrowing this one from Rachel O'Leary. Rachel, wonderful, love her channel. If you don't know who Rachel O'Leary is, you should, because she is an absolute asset and resource to this community here, the Fish Fam here on YouTube, and is a wonderful author, and she is one of the best things to happen to this hobby. But she has a giant nano tank, and you wanted to know what to do with your 125-gallon tank. Here's something you could try. A giant nano means it's a really big tank, and you fill it with really small fish. So this is something I wanted to do from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, the largest tank that I could imagine was a 100-gallon tank. That was about the largest I ever saw. It was a 100-gallon tank, and I always thought I wanted to get the biggest tank I can get and fill it with the smallest fish I can find. So you imagine putting in you get a 125-gallon tank, and you fill it with 200 chili rasboras. How cool would that be? Or just get a whole bunch of small fish. But the fun thing about like a giant nano tank is you can aquascape different areas different ways and see if the small fish, the nano fish, will inhabit those different areas that are designed differently as their neighborhood. Because some fish, they like to hide. They like to have a lot of plants and cover for themselves. Others like to be out in the open. So if you design different areas in different ways to get a different look, different landscape there for the hardscape differently, and the planting differently, maybe those fish will hang out in those areas. So you'll have actual neighborhoods. How's that for an idea? Something else you could do, and this is what I was going to allude to when we were talking about the live bearer community and how to stop them from breeding so much. One thing you can do is you can do a sorority or a fraternity where you're getting just female fish and putting them all together in one tank. So all the fish are females. Or you're putting all males together in a tank so that there's no chance of them breeding. So you could do that. Would be one great thing to do with the live bearer tank. If you want to do a live bearer community, you could do all males. So you get all male guppies in there, all male whatever, and you don't have to worry about them crossbreeding. Or you could do all females in a tank. A lot of people do like a sorority. When they think of a sorority with fish tanks, you think of female bettas. A lot of people keep a whole bunch of female bettas together because they will work together most of the time without fighting, and that can work. But you can do it with all kinds of fish. So you could do several different species, but you'd keep just the females of them. With live bearers, though, the one thing you really got to look out for is, were they near any males previously before you put them in your tank? Because some live bearers can actually keep the seed from the male for a long time. They will take it into their bodies and they will hold on to it, and they will keep pumping out puppies for a while. So you gotta make sure that they haven't been around any males before you put them into your sorority, or you're going to end up with males. Or if you don't, sometimes you accidentally get one male, or one female in something. My daughter, when she had her Endler's live bearers, she got a baker's dozen of Endlers from somebody I know locally here from the San Francisco Bay Area Aquatic Plant Society, and she had given my daughter a baker's dozen. And it turned out one of them was actually a young female. Some of them were very young, so we didn't know what they were yet. And one of them was a female, not a male. And yep, pretty soon we had a whole tank full of Endlers. So, but that's one thing that you can try there. And the last one that I want to talk about, or one idea here, is this is kind of an interesting idea. And I'm actually going to do a full video on this, so I don't want to go into great detail on this. But it's something I call casting call. And I get this mindset from my experience in the entertainment industry and being an actor. And when it comes to a casting call, like I said, I look at my tanks as show business. I look at it from the show business angle, that the tank itself is a show, like a television show. And every television show or every movie has a cast. And every cast breaks down differently. You have your star. You have your principal actors. You have your character actors. You have your background performers, the extras in the background there. And by looking at your tank the same way, you can create something that is very visually appealing. So let's take, for instance, what has been in my 20-gallon tank. You know my fish, my talking fish, and everything like that. So the background actors would be like the rummy-nosed tetras. They're always moving. They're always in the background there. They're like in a movie or something like that, to make sure that things look real when they're shooting movies, they're shooting television shows, is if it's out somewhere on the street or anywhere, and it could be indoors or something like that, you want it to look like there's activity. You want it to look real. And in the background, in most places, there's people walking around. So they have what they call extras or background players. And that's a lot of times that's your start in acting on camera, is you walk through a scene, or you're standing in the background. Sometimes you're out of focus, but you're there, and you get paid, and that's your gig. And then you work up from there. Hopefully, work up to being a principal performer or a star. And that's where I started. The very first film that I worked on was Howard the Duck, and I was a rocker. I had a very small role. It was almost basically a background player. I played a rocker on there. So, despite the fact that I don't know how to play a guitar, I played a rocker on that film. But my rummy-nosed tetras are my background players. Then you have your featured characters. So something like the Callistus tetras would be my featured, or my principal characters. So they're a little more out in front, and they don't school around, they don't swim around in back. They're a little more bold, so they're in the scene more. Another thing then is you have your guest stars. So Junior, my clown Pleco, is a guest star. He's not in every episode of the show, because he doesn't appear. He's a Pleco. He's not out front and center all the time, but I see him once in a while, so he's my guest star. Then you have your character actors. Humphrey, my three-line Cory Catfish, is kind of an odd character and kind of a conspiracy theorist, but he's kind of a quirky character, and he's in there quite often, so he's my character actor. And then The star of the show would be Senor Fish, my angelfish. So he's been the star of the show there, basically. So each one of those is important. So that's one way of looking at it, that you can stock your tank in that manner so that you're mimicking what would be in the cast of a TV show or a movie. And also, just like I was talking about with the water column, so that you're separating fish into different areas, this also separates the focus. When we get, let's put it this way, if you were casting a movie or a TV show, and everybody had a line of dialogue, and they all had this, and they all tried to say the line of dialogue at the same time, it wouldn't work. It would be crazy. You couldn't focus on anything. Well, you don't want that in your fish tank either. You don't want all the fish doing the same thing in the same spot all the time. So by having this sort of casting call idea, you've got different fish that play different roles in your aquarium, and it makes for a more cohesive community there. Does this make sense? Am I just completely off the wall with this, or what? Let's see, what do we got here going to this? Lucas Studio says, oh, Howard the Duck. That was a thing. Yeah, it was a thing. George Lucas produced a film of Howard the Duck in the 1980s. As much as he would like to divorce himself from that project, I saw him there on set. That was the first time seeing George. So yeah. Rounder Rob says, do you do a live stream every Friday? No, I do a live stream. I'm trying to do it once a month. This is actually only the second live stream that I've done. So, Lucas Studio says, dang, Aquatasy, you've been in the entertainment industry for years now. Nice. Yes, I started acting when I was 10 years old. I started off in theater, and then I moved into film and television and commercials and voiceover for games and animation and things like that. So, yeah, I've been at it a while. Ron Rob says, no top, middle, and bottom swimmers? Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, when you're doing the casting call thing, you can also keep that in mind. In a sense, when I did my casting call for what's going to be my Brazil-only tank, with my sassy fish over there, I did keep that in mind, because the rummies kind of hang around in one area, and they're a lot of times up near the surface, or they're in the background. The Callistus tetras are more out in front and in the middle. The clown pleco and the cory cat are down near the bottom, and the angelfish is all over the place. So it separates them that way too. Alrighty, okay. Lumpy Dog says, all I can picture in my head is Dom DeLuise at the end of Blazing Saddles. Yes. Yes. So, so that's one idea you can do. And like I said, I'm going to do a full video on the casting call idea to sort of flesh it out and everything like that. So you can also do stocking based on a theme. So you can pick a theme for a tank. Sometimes we pick a theme for a tank for our hardscape. You know, we'll do things that are based off of, maybe, some, to get kind of a particular mood. We'll get sort of a theme going. Some people will do that with sort of store-bought decorations. We got like a SpongeBob thing going or something like that. But you can do that with the way you stock your fish as well. So you stock fish that remind you of something in particular. And the possibilities are just kind of endless with that. You could do it based on movies. So pick one of your favorite movies and find fish that resemble the characters in the movies based on their coloration or their behavior or their body shape or something like that. You could do a Star Wars tank if you wanted to. You know, you could find a Darth Vader fish, and you could find a Luke fish, and so on. You could do it based on TV shows. You could do it based on your favorite video games. You know, you could do a World of Warcraft tank, maybe. I don't know. You could do it based on your favorite books. Like you could do a Harry Potter tank of some sort. You could do it based on your favorite music, your favorite musicians, you know. What fish reminds you of you know, your favorite guitarist or something. There I go back to guitars again. It's because I'm wearing the t-shirt. You could do it based on your favorite comic books and favorite comic book characters. So find fish that remind you of those things. You could do it based on anime, your favorite anime character, or your favorite sports team. You know, this goes back to the color idea too. How about stocking your tank with the colors of your favorite team? You know, your favorite football team, basketball team, baseball team, soccer team, you know, whatever. Try that and see. So there's lots and lots of ideas out there. The idea is just to come up with ideas. Don't pigeonhole yourself into, well, I'm just going to do a community tank, or I'm just going to do a biotope, or I'm just going to do a single species tank. You want to let your mind explore. I think it's the wisest thing you can do sometimes, you know? So let your imagination run wild. I think that's something that's you know, I think it's a sign of intelligence. In fact, Albert Einstein said, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And I think that is so, so true. It really is. So let your mind wander. Come up with ideas here. Hopefully this has given you some inspiration so that you can come up with some ideas of your own there. And if you've got ideas, throw them into the chat. Throw them into the chat and let's see what you got. So, some people are running with the ideas now here. Is there a reel of everything? You mean like a reel of everything I worked on? Are you talking about that? Let's see. Matthew had to go. Sorry, Matthew. Thank you for being part of the live stream. I really appreciate it. Lucas Studio says, Vader is a black molly or angelfish. Yeah, I like the angelfish idea. Supergo says, Jabba is a blobfish. I like that. That's a good idea. Lumpy Dog, hometown sport, it's team colors. Yes, very good. Very, very good idea. Lucas Studio says, yeah, Boba Fett is a green Severum. That's actually kind of a cool idea, because the Severum's got that sort of shaped head that is kind of the shape of Boba Fett's helmet. That's a great idea. I like that. Rob says, out of the box and open your mind. I read it wrong at first. I thought it said out of the box and out of your mind. That could apply as well. So, Lumpy Dog says, shrimp are great in small desktop tanks. They are tiny, but a lot of fun to watch. I wholeheartedly agree, and I mentioned this the last time that I did a live stream, but I plan on turning this, after I clean it, into a little shrimp face to keep on my desk, because I think that would be a fantastic idea. I love the idea of just having little shrimp on my desk. I'm afraid I won't get any work done because I'll be staring at the shrimp all the time. Shrimp are ridiculously entertaining. I just can't get over how entertaining they are. QSA Fall Rising says Chewbacca is a zebra Danio. Interesting. Interesting idea. I was thinking something bigger for Chewbacca. You need something tall or long or something like that. Maybe a ropefish. That'd be kind of cool. Now you want something that looks kind of hairy. Is there hairy? Something like that. I have relatives in Montana, in the United States there, and if we go to visit them, and you go to the little roadside stands and things like that, and they all sell these postcards of what they call fuzzy fish, and everybody will swear that they're real. That basically they look like trout that somebody's put fake fur on, and everybody swears that they're real, just like the jackalope and everything. But I don't know if there's any hairy fish, but that'd be kind of cool to get a fish that resembles Chewbacca. Lucas Studio says, I need some tank ideas when I go to college in a year. Well, hopefully this has helped. Says, nah, brown killifish or wait, you can't find those. Chewbacca is a gar. Okay, that would work. Yeah, if you've got room for a gar, that would work. Yeah. It's not wise to upset a Wookiee. It's not wise to upset a gar. So There you are. So, should we keep going? I got time if you got time. And right now, you can go ahead and ask whatever you want. So these are the ideas, and like I said, I'm going to do some follow-up videos on this. I'll do a video on thinking outside the glass box, and I'm going to do a video on casting call, and definitely flesh those out for you so that you can, follow along with these ideas with a lot more visuals and things like that. By the way, happy Friday the 13th. It is Friday the 13th, in case you didn't realize it. Colin Barsby said he was going to be here, except he's scared because it's Friday the 13th and he's afraid of Jason. So I actually happen to know several Jasons. I'm friends with several Jasons from the films, including Ari Lehman, who was the very first Jason. He was sort of the bald mongoloid Jason drowning in the lake from the original Friday the 13th. I've known him for, oh my gosh, we've known each other since 2005. Great guy. He actually has a band called First Jason, heavy metal band. Great thing there. But he's so yeah. So happy Friday the 13th to you. I don't think Friday the 13th is a unlucky day. I don't believe in luck. I think luck is sort of a figment of our imagination, and whether it's good or bad. I mean, good luck, I believe, is opportunity meeting preparedness. So you can learn to be lucky. So anyhow, let me get back to the chat here. Didn't Mysteries at the Museum talk about hairy fish once? Possibly. Palpatine is a stonefish, always lurking and incredibly lethal. Yes, well done, my young apprentice. I love the references, says Lucas. Oh yes, definitely. Check out Dan's Fish, getgills.com. Dan's Fish, great channel, and check out the fish that he sells. Fantastic. I need to get some of this fish. Rob has asked, so far in life, what is your favorite fish to keep? Oh my gosh, that's like asking me which one of my children is my favorite. I've been keeping fish since I was 12 years old, probably. I started off with goldfish, which I don't recommend for beginner fish. They're really not beginner fish. They take a little more maintenance than beginner fish do. But a better beginner fish would be like zebra danios or platies or something like that. But I love so many different types of fish. I love keeping tetras. I've always kept tetras. I almost always have tetras in my tanks. Danios, rasboras, things like that. It wasn't until later on that I was keeping cichlids. I enjoy cichlids. I like keyhole cichlids. Keyhole cichlids are really cool. But my favorite fish are probably either Corydoras catfish or plecos. I just really like them. I think there's something otherworldly and fascinating about them. I really like them a lot. But I also like fish that have a lot of personality, which is why I keep bettas too. I really like bettas because they have so much personality. Princess Bucket over here, she is one sassy gal, and she's fearless, absolutely fearless. I mean, I stick my hands in the tank there. The three fish that are in the Thailand project so far are Princess Bucket. She's my female betta, red betta, and Lazarus, who is my black coolie loach, and he's named Lazarus because he pretty much died on me but came back to life. And I have also a Siamese algae eater in there whose name is Mop, because if you've got Bucket, you need a Mop, right? So that's what's in there, and they're all utterly fearless. I mean, when I'm in there trying to do maintenance and things like that, they're right up in the middle of what I'm trying to do. Drives me crazy. So, Roundy Rob says, luck is made. It absolutely is. Super Ghost UK says, I'd go for a tank of most dangerous fish, but they probably end up killing each other. Well, again, if it depends on which ones you put together, because sometimes, like I said, you put a bunch of fighters together in one room, nobody wants to throw the first punch. So sometimes they will keep each other in check. Any fish that attempts to jump is a stormtrooper, because they miss. Yes, I know. Or you get fish that easily die, and they're all the red shirts from Star Trek. So Lucas Studios says, my favorite fish so far is a dwarf gourami. Dwarf gouramis. Yeah, dwarf gouramis are nice too. I especially like the powder blue dwarf gouramis. So has this helped you guys? Has it given you some ideas? And hopefully this is just a starting point, a platform for you guys there. Mbuna cichlids, QSA says, Mbuna cichlids are crazy cool. Always greet you thinking that you have food for them. Yeah, that's what I love about cichlids. And I get that a lot from like the South American cichlids and the Central American cichlids. They're really smart. They're very intelligent, and they can often tell the difference between one person and another person. They know who feeds them and who doesn't as they approach the tank, and they will come over, like, hey, you got food? You got food? And it's like my zebra danios. It's interesting. I can pick up. I've got the food sitting here on the tank. I'm feeding them some New Life Spectrum. I feed them some Aquarium fish flakes. I like these a lot because they're all natural. They don't have a bunch of additives in them or even dyes or anything like that. Shout out to Aquarium, nice people. That, and I also do some frozen food, live food. But the moment I reach for the jar, those zebras, they're like right up to the surface. They know it's feeding time. And it's sad because sometimes I'm moving things around on my desk and they're like, "You gonna feed us? You gonna feed?" No, not feeding you yet. Not yet. Not yet. What else do we have here? Pardon me while I refresh again. It's still very, very hot. Not time for the sun to go down yet, and I'm indoors under hot lights. So, so Lucas says, heck yeah, it helped. All these ideas. We need more of these. Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad this helped. That's why the Aquatasy channel exists. I'm here for you guys. It's fun for me. I enjoy doing this, but I'm doing it for you. That's why I make these videos. Rounded Rob says, oh, for sure, just did a video about my Mbunas. Oh, I will check that out. I will definitely check that out. So, Lucas Studio says, my gourami greets me all the time as well as my danios. Fish are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. Superghost says that their favorite is a tigerfish or neon tetras. Yeah, I got a soft spot for neon tetras. I like neon tetras too. I haven't had any for quite a while. So at some point, I will be finishing the Thailand project, and we'll get that going there, and you'll see what else gets stocked in there on the pick a country type thing. The little tank over here, pardon me, this little 5.5 gallon there, it's actually also a pick a country tank. That one is based on India. So all the plants, all the invertebrates, all the fish in there are from the country of India. So the zebra danios are from India, the dwarf honey gourami is from India, the black racer nerite snail is from India, and all the plants that are in there. And I have very simple plants in there. I've got some hornwort, some Vallisneria spiralis, and some water sprite that's just gone mad in there, and some dwarf water lettuce, all found indigenous to India. So it's a fun little challenge that I do for myself there. Lumpy Dog says, my silly little bicher, Cygnus, I hope that's the way they pronounce that name, only comes out for me. He moves like a cartoon character. I would love to keep one of those. I need a bigger tank for something like that. They have so much character. I'm often jealous of the people on YouTube that have them. Like PecTech has got Mr. Tubes and everything. They're fun fish to have. So How long have you had your biter, Lumpy? Okay. I'm on mug of water number 2. It's my water change. And of course, by now, it's room temperature. Great. Lovely. So I hope you're having fun. This has been fun. I'm glad that we're doing the live stream, and a lot of people said they missed the last one. Now, when I did the poll on the community tab on the Aquatasy channel, and I hope you're all checking out the community tab there, because I do post there quite often, and I will put up polls about ideas that I have for upcoming videos, and I get your feedback from that. And I did a poll for this particular live stream to decide, well, what do you want to see? What topic should I cover? And the majority of you voted on stocking ideas for that. But the thing that came in second place was freshwater versus saltwater. So I think we at some point have to do a live stream talking about that, and maybe we can get it combined. We'll get somebody else in here as a guest too to talk on the saltwater side of things. That would be fun. So we'll hopefully do that in the future. Super Ghost says that just learned the other day, apparently fish can get drunk too. Yes. When I was in high school and we had to take the driver's ed classes, they would show us these films on Super 8, no, not Super 8, it was on 16 millimeter film projectors, these Bell and Howell projectors, and is it rattling along there, and the sprocket holes jumping up and down, the soundtrack sounding like this. One of the things they would talk about in these films on driver's education was, don't drive drunk. And they would demonstrate it by taking a shot glass of whiskey or something like that and pouring it into a goldfish bowl, and you'd see this poor drunken fish trying to swim around. Yes, fish can become inebriated. I thought that was like the saddest thing. I think they could have illustrated it other ways, but... Lumpy Dog says, I got he's talking about his biter here. I got him when he was 2.5 inches long and about the thickness of a pencil. That was late 2016. So how big is he going to get? Has he reached full size yet? Excuse me while I Elvis myself. Thank you very much. Yeah, so check out the community tab because I post a lot of things there, and I want to get your feedback on that. And of course, leave comments on the videos because I do answer those as well. I try to get in there and answer as many of them as I possibly can, because that's what this channel is about. It's about growing this community. And look what we've done. Look what you've done. We're close to 10,000 subscribers. Wow. And that's not me. That's not, hey, Andrew's hot stuff. No, that's not what that is. That's you. That's us. That's like-minded people gathering together and sharing ideas. It's iron sharpening iron, So. Oh, thank you. QSA says, great live stream, Aquatasy. Amazing tank ideas. Through a movie perception. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like going way back, I've had this sort of cinematic approach to fish tanks. I mean, going back to before I worked in the industry, when I first had my first tanks, I was always sort of viewing things from that perspective. As Jerry Cornell from Theme Parkology will tell you, I am a big Disney theme park fanatic, and my artistic awakening was when I was 6 years old. My mom took me to Disneyland for the first time, and I was just fascinated by the place. Because most kids will go to some place like Disneyland, and they will look at it and they'll go, "Oh my gosh, this is where Mickey and Minnie live." They buy into the whole fantasy of it. I was not like that. I knew it was all make-believe. I knew it was all show, but I'm doing too many air quotes. I knew it was all show, but I thought that was astounding, and I wanted to know who made this place and how did they make it and how can I do that too. And I would try to recreate what I saw at Disneyland in my fish tanks. So my first fish tank was a recreation, or as best as I could, of the submarine voyage at Disneyland. And I had bubbles coming up along all I had bubble wands going around all the sides of the glass, and I could control them with different valves, and I had different lighting and effects and rock caves and things like that, just trying to recreate that. So I've always had this sort of cinematic visual appeal, this idea in my head of making tanks look cinematic. And at the same time, working on my fish tanks has helped me become a better artist as a digital artist doing effects for feature films and television and things like that, because it allows me to, in real time and in real life, understand lighting and perspective and framing and that sort of thing. And so that goes back and forth between my hobby and my profession. That each one feeds the other, so that's why I do that. Also, it's, the tagline is, it's from a humorous and cinematic perspective, because I'm a goofball, and I've been a stand-up comedian for years, and I'm a comedic actor, and I don't know how to be any other way than to be hopefully funny. Hopefully. So 10,000 subs, that's huge, says Rob. Yes, it's really, really huge and humbling. It really is. I had made a lofty idea at the beginning of the year. I thought, oh, I want to get to 10,000 subscribers. I didn't think that I was actually going to get there, but you put something into words and it starts to become tangible. You say things out loud and you start to think that way, and you start doing the right things to get you there. And there are things you can do to grow your channel, and I do it. And again, I'm not doing it to serve myself. I'm doing it to serve the community here, the fish tank community. But when I started at the beginning of the year at somewhere around 3,000, 3,500 subscribers, and I said, oh, by the end of the year I want to get to 10,000. Well, at this rate, it's definitely going to happen before the end of the year. And I'm still blown away. I don't even know what to say about it. Superghost says, Aquatasy, if you get a chance to get your hands on a VR headset, you should do some videos on some VR aquariums and underwater experiences. Interesting. Yeah, I have actually done both VR and AR, which is augmented reality, which is where you're actually looking through the lenses. VR, virtual reality, you're looking at a monitor. It's basically like you're taking a cell phone and sticking it in front of your eyeballs. So that's and you're seeing this virtual reality that you're walking around. So you can create things that don't exist and sort of explore it. And some of the virtual reality things, like they've got a really interesting one that I hear about downtown Disney and at the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, but that I keep hearing about, that I'd love to see. But I've also done the augmented reality, which is where you're putting on goggles that project something in front of you, but you can still see through it. So you're seeing an overlay of various things, and so you're interacting with that. And they're both very cool, and they're both very interesting. But I don't know. I'm an analog guy. I work in digital, but I'm an analog guy, and it just kind of defeats the purpose to me to have a virtual fish tank when I'd rather get my sleeves wet. That's just how I am. I think also one reason that I like fish tanks so much and I appreciate them so much is that working digitally, or just working in film and television, whether you're behind the scenes or you're in front of the camera or behind a microphone, you don't have the sense of completion, and you don't have the sense of something really tangible until the film or the television show comes out or airs or something like that, until it's finished. Because like when you're working in visual effects, you can work for 6 months to a year or more on a project and not know if the movie that you're working on is any good, because you're seeing it out of sequence without sound. You're seeing your portion of it, and that's it. You don't get to see everything. And so there's no sense of completion there. Same thing with acting. You do what you do on camera, and you do lots of different takes, and you don't see it. You don't see the final scene. When you're doing theater, it's a little bit different, because you're doing a complete show, like I'm doing right now with the live stream. You're doing a complete show from start to finish. So there is that sense of accomplishment. When you're acting, you don't always get that until the final finished product is on a store shelf or in theaters or on television or streaming or something. So That's why I love fish tanks, and that's why I love gardening and that sort of thing, because you can touch it, you can feel it, you can get your hands wet, and you can do things, and it's done. And there it is, and you can look at it and you say, I made that, I put this together, there it is, I can enjoy it now. So that's one of the things. So I'm not big on VR. I mean, it's interesting for certain things, certain aspects of things. I like it for certain gaming things. I would like to try some of these VR things where you're in and you're like a stormtrooper running around, or you're bounty hunter or something like that. Let's see, what else we got here in the chat. Oh, Lumpy Dog says his biter is now about 10 inches long. Not sure he'll get any bigger. He's a common Senegalese, if I pronounced that right. It's Latin, and Latin's a dead language, and everybody who can correct me is dead. So, which is a smaller type of biter, yeah. That's the thing too. I want to know what can I put in a tank with a biter, because I'd love to have a biter, but I know I need a big tank for it, and I don't have a big tank. So some days needing to do a water change, says Lumpy, feels like a chore. Then I start doing them, and I really enjoy it. That's a great thing to say, because actually that's another topic that I'm planning to do a video on water changes and water change routines, because sometimes we take the wrong approach to water changes. We look at it as a chore. And I try to look at it as just like, okay, here's my time to just chill out. And I'm just going to take my time and I play some nice jazz music or something like that, or I watch a couple of my favorite video channels on YouTube, and I'll take my time and I'll do my water change. And I do it old school. I got the bucket brigade going. I got the 5-gallon bucket and the siphon hose and all that, and I do it that way, and I take my time. And also, I think we have to put, we have to get into a certain mindset when it comes to water changes. That we have a tendency to think that water changes are a supplement to filtration, and it's really the other way around. The filtration is the supplement to the water change, because out in the wild, unless it's a fish that comes from pretty stagnant waters, out in the wild, there's always fresh water coming through the stream, coming through the lake or whatever like that. There's always new fresh water coming in. And so we need to think of it that way, so that the filtration is actually what supplements the water changes. And if we take that approach to it, then we don't maybe think of it as such a chore. We think of it as more as like, okay, this is something I'm doing to benefit my fish, as opposed to, oh, I got to drag the bucket in again. So Lucas says, yeah, I do water changes the old-fashioned way too. Sorry. Rounded Rob says, Lumpy Dog, that's the normal bottom line. You got to do it because you got to flush the toilet. It's true. Look at it, man. These fish, they're swimming in their own toilet. Because when you set up a tank, when you set up a fish tank, even before you cycle it or anything like that, you've added the water conditioner or anything like that, you've got a perfect, pristine environment. Absolutely perfect. And then you put fish in it, and it becomes a toilet, because that's what they do. They do this little thing called pooping. And, that's a technical term. They do this little thing called pooping, and it starts to foul the water, and that's when the ammonias come in, and that's when the ammonias start building up, and so that's why we cycle our tanks, so that the beneficial bacteria will break down that ammonia and everything. So yeah, so the biofilter is important. The mechanical filter is important to get out all the particulate matter in the water, but it's still, you need to do the water changes. And some people will argue with me. I know Mike from Mass Aquariums, he's got a tank that he hasn't done a water change on in about a year or so, but he's got it set up under certain special conditions. But I'm sure he's still topping off the tank. Otherwise it would have dried out by now. Yeah, and Rod Rob says it's interaction with your fish. It is. Yeah, the mindset is if you don't do it, your fish die. Yeah, that's true. They can. Also, you got to remember when you're doing it, especially when you're doing the bucket brigade thing, is to put that water conditioner in there to make sure you take out anything that's, neutralize anything that's in the water that shouldn't be in there, like, nitrates and nitrites and ammonia and chlorine and stuff like that. And I accidentally forgot to do that one time, and looked into the tank as the water is flowing in through the siphon hose, and I see the fish, on their side on the bottom, and it's like, I forgot to put the water conditioner in, so I quick squirted a bunch into the tank, and oh well. So, well, we've gone for about 2 hours now, so I think we should probably wrap it up. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here. I've really enjoyed this. I hope you have too. Again, you can find Aquatasy on the internet all over the place. Obviously, the Aquatasy channel, you're right here, right now. You can also find us at aquatasy.com, a website that definitely needs to be updated. I'm going to do it soon. You can find Aquatasy on Instagram. I'm pretty active there on Instagram. It's sort of a slice of life, but it also has a lot of stuff with the fish tanks and everything else. You can get to see my family, our parrot, and our neighbor's cat that keeps coming over, and everything like that, and anything else that strikes my fancy. You can also find Aquatasy on Twitter. So we're Aquatasy on Twitter, which I occasionally post something odd and interesting there. And Aquatasy on Facebook, where I will post a bunch of articles and videos and things like that that pertain to the hobby and pertain to fish in general. So that's one way to find us there. You can find us through the social media. Also, don't forget the Aquatasy store. At the teespring.com/Aquatasy. You can find all kinds of things there, and the proceeds help to benefit the Starlight Children's Foundation. So you can get your I Suffer from MTS, Multiple Tank Syndrome t-shirt there, the official Aquatasy t-shirt, and lots of other things as well. If you want to email me at any particular point in time, you're certainly welcome to do that. You can send your email to info@aquatasy.com, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you so much for hanging out. Big thank you to Lumpy Dog for being our moderator. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. You kept it going, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who contributed to this. And, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you and blessings to you.